不是王力宏那些啦，是我们不知道的事情啊。Oke, kita bagi tepukan kepada saudara Stanley untuk naik ke pentas untuk berucap. 我给他一个热烈的掌声，欢迎他上台。
Terima kasih kepada pengerusi majlis pada hari ini. Kawan-kawan semua, apa kabar? Adakah anda semua bersedia untuk 19 hari bulan ini? Itu semangatnya kawan-kawan. Nama saya Stanley dan saya daripada the Center to Combat Corruption and Cronyism. We are basically an anti-corruption good governance NGO here in Malaysia. We have spoken about big corruption issues affecting people like us in this country. We have spoken out against corruption. We have spoken up against bad governance. And today I'm here to share with you what has transpired in the last 4 years. My dear friends, in 2018, when Malaysians decided enough is enough, when Malaysians decided untuk menumbangkan kerajaan UMNO, Malaysians came together in droves, in hundreds of thousands, to ensure the thief, the penyangga, the pencuri Najib Razak fails in the election, and we managed to win the 2018 elections, my dear friends. Did we win? We won. It was a strong message from us that we reject corruption. That we want only uncorrupted leaders to lead this country. And this is why we said enough is enough. So when the government was formed, many of us, including my organization, C4 Center, was part of different committees in late 2018 and early 2019. You name it, the committee of 1MDME, the reform committee, various different committees were formed by the then Pakatan Harapan to look into the issues of reform in this country. And as a result of all these consultations, these meetings, these high-level dialogues, the inputs from various citizen groups, NGO groups, what came about was the National Anti-Corruption Plan. Now, the National Anti-Corruption Plan that was launched in 2019 was a 5-year roadmap to address issues of corruption in this country. It talked about the separation of powers between the AG and the PP, because we have seen how the Attorney General has not been impartial in his duties. The NACP, National Anti-Corruption Plan, talks about reforming the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. We have seen how the MACC, despite supposed to be a guidance, an advocate of good governance and anti-corruption in this country, but many of their officers themselves are involved in corruption. Sampai duit dalam MACC juta-juta pun boleh hilang. This is the sad country, the sad situation of our MACC. And then we have witnessed many incidents in the MACC, which I will talk about shortly. So what else does NACP talk about? AG, MACC, reform to the police, the Independent Police Commission Misconduct, IPCMC, to hold police officers accountable for their actions. That was part of the National Anti-Corruption Plan. It talked about having a procurement bill in order to address issues of corruption in this country, where politicians are giving out contracts to their cronies to their friends, their family members, without any proper process in place. So the NSCP talked about all these reforms. So we did a study. In the last 4 years, what has happened to the MACC? My dear friends, very sad to note that dalam 4 tahun yang telah berlalu, the National Anti-Corruption Plan today is down the drain. Sudah masuk longkang. Dalam 114 inisiatif yang telah dilancarkan oleh kerajaan semasa Pakatan Harapan berada di Putrajaya, sebanyak 14 reform yang sangat penting that I talked about just now has been postponed. And this is what has been happening under Muhyiddin and under Ismail Sabri. All the important reforms, we talk about political financing act, we talk about procurement bill, we talk about AGPP, MACC, and even the IPCMC. Everything has been postponed. It is a big setback for us, advocates of good governance, different NGOs in this country who have been fighting for years so that we will have proper reforms in this country. But said, all these reforms are today down the drain. You see, my dear friends, the Sheraton move that happened in early 2020, led by Muhyiddin, Azmin and the gang and so on, was never about race or religion. It was about money and power. Money because when Bersatu came into power with Pakatan Harapan government, they were not used to this new way of being held accountable. They could not give contracts to all their cronies. Remember in the Bersatu AGM back in 2019, Bersatu delegates were openly asking their MPs, their leaders to give contracts to them. This was the culture in Bersatu. And they were not ready for this shift and change. Therefore, they planned. On the other hand, of course, if Anwar becomes Prime Minister, which means Bersatu will totally lose power of federal. They become like a puppet in the PH government. So this entire mechanics of Sheraton move was never about race or religion. It was all about who is holding power and who is going to get money. And this was what happened to us. We were fooled by them. We were backstabbed by them in the interest of power and money. So my dear friends, I call upon all of y'all. You all know, kamu semua sedar dalam betapa seriusnya keadaan negara kita pada hari ini. Kita bukan bercakap tentang rasuah RM100, RM200 ataupun RM1-2,000. Kita bercakap tentang wang rasuah beratus jutaan ringgit, kawan-kawan. Billions are bleeding our tax money. 1 MDB debt is yet to be paid. Bilion lagi kita kena bayar untuk 1 MDB. Duit siapa? Duit kita. Mereka curi, mereka sapu, mereka jadi kaya menggunakan duit kita. That is why, my friends, the reform agenda must be put in the main burner. It must be put center stage. Today I was having a look at the manifesto of BN, PN and PH. I must say, my dear friends, when I look at the comparison of the manifesto in regards to anti-corruption efforts and good governance efforts, what the parties has promised, the different parties, PH, PN and PN, what they have promised. If I look at the manifesto, BN, Nothing, 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 nothing. A few, nothing, 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 nothing. I look at PN, nothing, nothing, nothing. A few, yes, but nothing, 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 nothing. When I look at PH, the majority is PH. They have a lot of reforms that they want to bring forward in their manifesto in regards to anti-corruption. And that is a commitment that we want to see from political parties. That the interests of the people must be put forward. That reforms cannot be sidetracked. We want to see, when the government comes into power, that we will have all these reforms implemented in the 1 year or in the less than 2 years. Because you know why? Let me tell you something. When PH was in power, I did this research as well. The majority of the 11 reforms that I talked about, just know all the important reforms. That means if you have this reform, kita boleh membawa Malaysia ke next level. Because we want to talk about addressing corruption, implementing good governance practices, and so on. The 11 main reforms. PH had already completed most of the research in regards to these reforms. The research was done, the meetings was done, but it was on the road for implementation, I believe. But there were a lot of resistance coming also, I know, from Bersatu at that time to implement the reforms, the IPCMC, police accountability, for example. We know the bill was ready, tabled in Parliament, and then withdrawn for Parliament, had to go to Special Select Committee, and then come out again. Before it could be withdrawn again in Parliament, Sheraton move happened. So, my hope for these elections is, my friends, that our interests and the reforms will be put to main stage. And before I end, I would just like to announce, my dear friends, that we, my C4 Center team, is at the back today at the site of the DAP booth. They are selling a card game. It is known as the Build My Town card. Basically, this card, we came out with a design to help people understand, untuk faham what is governance in this country about. So it gives you a chance, if you play this card, to be like an MP. You jadi sebagai seorang MP dan boleh main card ni. So it's just like how you play Monopoly or different board games, for example. If you want to have a feel one day of how to be an MP, please support us. Please support our work that we do for good governance in this country. Our booth is behind there. Get a card. It's only 30 ringgit. Very, very cheap. So my dear friends, I come back to the main point. This 19th of November is a very, very important day for us. It is a day that we need to go out and change the destiny of our country. It is a day that we, Malaysians, must change the future of our country, of our children, and for the generations to come. So please, my dear friends, come out on the 19th and cast your vote, my dear friends. Heat up, heat up. Heat up, rakyat. Heat up, heat up. Heat up, rakyat. Hancur, hancur. Hancur perasua. Hancur, hancur. Hancur perasua. Terima kasih kawan-kawan.
Okay, 接落嚟，多謝，thank you Saudara Stanley for speaking for us, for our Sri Petaling residents，多謝我哋。